Dispatch.
Dispatch.
But if I do, it's going to take at least 20 minutes from the time of dispatch.
Dispatch, this is Lieutenant Deborah Morgan.
Do you read radio dispatch?
Do you think that you could, dispatch someone to, my house or escort me to school, just in case?
派遣
Dispense.
Dispense.
After all, he might choose to dispense with my services. Now, shall we dispense with the bull?
Perhaps we can dispense with the fun and games now, yes?
So, to be clear, you don't dispense any marijuana here at all.
We do not dispense drugs.
分发特许
Dispenser.
Dispenser.
Daddy, we just walked by a penicillin dispenser.
Do you have the courage to check and see if there are enough sanitary napkins in the dispenser?
Margaret, would you get Nancy a pad, please, from the dispenser on the wall?
She makes a Pez dispenser out of him.
You were washing your hands in the hospital bathroom and you left it on the soap dispenser.
分配者
Dispersal.
Dispersal.
All right, I want a nice clean dispersal this time.
Besides, the stainless steel construction made the flux dispersal.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Utter Estates Dispersal, as will proceed under the supervision of the Deadwood Bank.
Oh, Sam, this is information retrieval, not information dispersal.
This is the combined shock front from one dispersal airfield 40 miles away.
散步
Disperse.
Disperse.
Disperse immediately, or we will use lethal force to clear the area.
Disperse!
Permission to disperse them, please. Please disperse!
The rest of the funds I will disperse at my discretion.
分散分散的
Dispiriting.
Dispiriting.
Continued for 2 dispiriting years.
Do you know how dispiriting that is, Diana, to know that the only happiness you get is from a bloody game show?
Having one's life summed up can be very dispiriting.
I just wonder whether it occurs to any of you how dispiriting this can be.
It's awfully dispiriting.
沮丧的
Displace.
Displace.
And are ready to displace drilling mud 1,800 hours.
And if you're not back in 1 hour, I displace her.
Displace us and our capital?
KVD to displace army officers at every station.
Your brother returns, you feel guilty, you displace.
一致
Display.
Display.
And then there were those eager to display their nativity scene.
Display flesh artfully and know what to conceal.
And display all over the world's #1 showroom.
The very same car which can be seen on display outside in our courtyard.
You're not supposed to display your wealth to Sibello in such an ostentatious manner.
显示陈列
Disposable.
Disposable.
Did the lifeguard turn up at the party, or did you find another disposable?
I don't believe in disposable language either.
It's not disposable.
Not the disposable cameras from the table.
Something disposable.
可任意处理的
Disposal.
Disposal.
Garbage disposal.
Like a bomb disposal.
Well, you could use your position, as the roommate, and then I would use, the strongest tool at my disposal, my sexuality.
You had more persuasive methods at your disposal.
With every weapon at your disposal until every one of them is dead.
丢掉
Dispose.
Dispose.
Let him dispose of everything.
Oh, now, surely, madam, you're not going to tell me that there hasn't been a time that you didn't want to dispose of someone?
Still, the power of the diary began to scare her, and she tried to dispose of it in the girls' bathroom.
The book is not mine to dispose of.
They're in the process of joining NATO, so they have to dispose of all of their Soviet-era weapons.
处理处置
Dispute.
Dispute.
After a very great dispute, Tuma Wyatt went down to another world and took many things with him, even the tall trees that used to grow on our island.
And if there's any dispute about that, it's either good wholesome food or empty tummies.
He's just returned from a border dispute on Ancyon.
In order to put an end to the dispute that has so gravely impaired the unity of our Holy Mother Church.
What contract dispute?
争论
disqualify,
disqualify,
I think you have these qualities that you demand, and when you meet a nice man, you disqualify him for the smallest fault.
I'm moving for the game makers to disqualify you as mentor immediately.
If you're looking for permission to disqualify me, I'm not going to give it to you. Okay?
You can disqualify.
This is not legal. You think your sins disqualify you, but we are all sinners.
适不适合
disregard,
disregard,
Disregard that.
I strongly advise we disregard this word of his approach and ready our movement.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will disregard that last remark by Mrs. Andrews.
The jury will please disregard counsel's entire opening statement.
Well, I find this rather old-fashioned belief demonstrates a reckless disregard.
Excuse me, Minister.
忽视
disrespectful,
Disrespectful.
Hey, Tap. I don't mean for this to be disrespectful.
I didn't mean to be disrespectful.
Might be disrespectful.
It's disrespectful.
It's kind of disrespectful to Brittany, don't you think?
失礼的
disrupt,
Disrupt.
Disrupt the boys' school.
Don't let me disrupt the game.
It's designed to disrupt your input-output carrier signal so we can pinpoint your location.
Remnants of the scavenger army continue to disrupt the operation.
Why would you want to disrupt things?
分裂的使分裂
disruption,
Disruption.
But the Batman has a talent for disruption.
His grasp of disruption theory is remedial at best.
Look, our time disruption footprint needs to be extremely small.
See, we've had this small disruption to our supply chain.
She comes out with designer, high-quality, comfortable sweatpants just as a pandemic hits. She disrupted her own disruption. She made a killing.
分裂
disruptive,
Disruptive.
I would say that at times they have attempted to be a disruptive influence.
If you are as disruptive as you have been in the past, you are out like that.
Mark my words, Dolores. If you continue on this disruptive track, it will lead straight to the devil.
He's a disruptive influence, and he openly mocks me in front of the class.
You're a very disruptive young man.
分裂的
dissatisfied,
Dissatisfied.
I've been moody and dissatisfied.
No one should be sitting there dissatisfied before I even walked in the fucking door.
Of course, these intruders had been his dissatisfied clients.
There's going to be an explosion because black people are dissatisfied.
Why are you chronically dissatisfied?
不满的
disseminate,
Disseminate.
Sharpen your wings to conquer and disseminate little ABCs and big ABCs.
Because if you're planning to disseminate postcards,
Have you got a drop of scotch?
Fraud, blackmail, disseminate drugs.
We are merely asking you to disseminate information.
Well, I see no reason to disseminate the information.
散播广为传播
dissemination,
Dissemination.
Blue is for public dissemination.
Cease the dissemination of information.
Now to return to the source, allowing a temporary dissemination of the code you carry, reinserting the prime program.
Secondly, the unauthorized dissemination of classified material is a federal.
The purpose of this facility would be to limit the dissemination of such an unknown organism from outer space and to provide laboratories for its analysis.
散播
dissertation,
Dissertation.
For my dissertation, I was assigned the USS Kelvin.
I could write my entire dissertation on your review.
I read your dissertation.
It will be part of my dissertation, but...
When are you defending your dissertation?
论文
dissipate,
Dissipate.
Get her a gift. That'll dissipate some of the anger.
I figure we lie low a couple days, we let the panic dissipate, and we'll
Yeah, you got.
now.
It may take a little time for the grogginess to dissipate.
Word could dissipate. You can't do both.
Your Prime Minister, Mr. Barton, wants to dissipate any lingering impressions of a frontier colony, frontier behavior.
散失消散
dissolve,
Dissolve.
And then the brightness began to dissolve. Pile misery upon misery. Heap it up in a spoon and dissolve it with a drop of bile.
You're already starting to dissolve.
We have prospered, and now it is time for us
dissolve.
Write it on a cocktail napkin, crumple the napkin up, put it in a glass of water so they can see the ink dissolve.
溶解
Distance. Distance.
And we all know you don't do long distance.
Bigfoot in the distance.
Edie couldn't understand why her neighbors kept their distance.
This is a tough distance.
You know long distance relationships never work, and I...
距离
Distant. Distant.
But as a result of the destruction of Vulcan, your Starfleet began to aggressively search distant quadrants of space.
She's a distant relative of mine.
This war will be fought not on the frontier or on some distant battlefield.
You've just been a bit distant lately.
You are cold and distant when we do have to interact.
远的
Distill. Distill.
He saw what was going on in the world, and he had the ability to distill it into a song. What was going on in the world, and he had the ability to distill it into a song.
You can no more distill the scent of a cat than you can distill the scent of you or me. You were trying to distill.
蒸馏低下
Distinct. Distinct.
And dreadfully distinct against the dark, a tall white fountain plate. One stem.
And dreadfully distinct.
But despite that distinct possibility.
Frankly, I think he has too much imagination as distinct from cold calculation.
It is my very distinct pleasure to introduce to you Emily Bates, Susie Bailey, Samantha Darko.
清楚的
Distinction. Distinction.
I'm with someone now who doesn't have to make that kind of distinction.
It gives her something to think of, and a sort of distinction amongst her companions.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We have a guest, pianist of great distinction, as you've just heard.
That you will acquit yourselves honorably and with distinction.
The opportunity to earn distinction in the European wars seemed a great stroke of good fortune.
区别
Distinctive. Distinctive.
And I can wear black and white and have my own distinctive style.
And it makes a distinctive sound when fired at you, so remember it.
Distinctive laugh. True. She certainly has a distinctive laugh.
Your work is so interesting, distinctive, and unique.
有特色的
Distinguish. Distinguish.
Because it is of the utmost importance that the title distinguish this book from all the other cookbooks on the market.
He doesn't distinguish between the two.
That's the only way I'll ever distinguish myself.
They will not distinguish between the one they hunt and the one who gets in their way.
You need two different, and to distinguish right from left also.
区别
Distort. Distort.
Everything will distort.
I can distort electrical fields.
I'm not saying I would distort the play.
That I purposely distort my perceptions to make my reality more palatable.
Your thoughts distort reality.
扭曲
Distortion. Distortion.
Gravitational distortion.
That is a distortion of the truth, Lieutenant.
What you call reality distortion field, and I'm pretty sure you're the one who coined the phrase, is the reason we're here.
Zero distortion, sir.
扭曲
Distract. Distract.
I took 6 months of Kempo karate class, and you distract the assailant with pain.
I was taught, distract from my calling.
Let it fuel that, but don't let it distract you from...
That way, if he has any ability to defend himself, these will distract him.
转移
Distraction. Distraction.
Give me another distraction tomorrow.
In fact, from here on, you are going to see a drastic distraction reduction.
Love is a distraction.
Surrounding Seal Island was just a distraction to keep you busy. Technological distraction.
娱乐
Distress. Distress.
He was always the one rescuing damsels in distress.
I heard a sound of distress.
Send a distress signal.
Temporary insanity brought on by acute panic distress syndrome.
You're a lady in distress.
苦恼使苦恼亏本出售的
Distribute. Distribute.
When I enter the access code, my fleet of drones will distribute the antidote immediately.
Because if you continue making the movie the way that you are, there isn't going to be a distributor who won't distribute it.
George Young, you stand accused of possession of 660 pounds of marijuana with intent to distribute.
I'm here in Ybor to distill and distribute the demon rum.
To distribute gene therapy discreetly through everything from sweet drinks to breakfast cereals, and it worked.
分配
Distribution. Distribution.
Find out within this area where the title was available for early distribution Monday night.
My campaign is vehemently against the distribution of wealth to the richest Americans by our government.
These businesses are the distribution and collection points for Frank's dope and Frank's money.
We have decrypted a number of German messages by analyzing the frequency of letter distribution.
We will need a record label with national distribution.
分配
District. District.
And knowing that your school administrator could see that, and like people at the district could see that.
Look at the new district attorney.
Usually they trust people in the close from their district.
Will be to appoint a special district attorney to arrange for the indictment, prosecution, and conviction.
Willis Morrison, 12th District.
区域
Disturb. Disturb.
To disturb you, sir.
Listen, I'm sorry to disturb you at work, but I'm not feeling very well today.
I mean to disturb you.
Sorry to disturb.
You look so peaceful, I didn't want to disturb you.
扰乱
Disturbance. Disturbance.
Are you going to leave it the first sign of a domestic disturbance?
I'm just going to write domestic disturbance all clear.
Insanity is not a fucking domestic disturbance, Al. It's...
Could be some kind of disturbance or a sea quake brought it up.
Mademoiselle, after this disturbance, it is not safe for Lazlo to stay in Casablanca.
扰乱
Ditch. Ditch.
Careful, don't slide down into that ditch.
I can't drive with the radio on in case anything by the Pointer Sisters comes on and I swerve into a ditch.
I saw you down at the Ditch Witch the other day with some little brunette. 1 minute, she's driving 2 girls home from dance practice, and the next she's lying in a ditch.
Our car's in the ditch outside of town.
沟渠在开沟 开沟
Dive. Dive.
But everybody's waiting to see you dive.
18 months sober and they're still scared shitless I'm gonna relapse and wind up passed out on the floor in some dive down on Van Buren.
Found them playing at a dive in the village, man.
We dive every day. Well, it's the dive master's job to make sure that the diver is safe.
潜水跳水把突然深入
Diverge. Diverge.
You diverge from the path.
I make the path.
Now, this is where the stories offered by the state and the boy begin to diverge slightly.
Our paths diverge.
Robert Frost said, 2 roads diverged in the wood.
Well, we all have access to the same raw information, but over here is where our paths diverge.
分歧使岔开
Diverse. Diverse.
And diverse stories of human interest set in faraway quartiers.
I'm just proud that there's such a diverse language and beauty.
My influences are diverse.
A non-existent decoy, George Kaplan, created to divert suspicion from our actual agent, has fortuitously become a live decoy.
Those white folks, they love to boast about how diverse that school is, but you know what?
不同的
Diversify. Diversify.
He said he was going to diversify.
I think it's time we diversify.
I'd like to diversify, but I'm doing great, I think, as a start. Trying to diversify.
You said you're going to diversify and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
使多样化
Diversion. Diversion.
A diversion early on, Jimmy, to distract Rey Mysterio.
If you're about to jump ship from one wedding, let someone else know so we can create a diversion. Okay.
It's all about creating a diversion.
We'll create a diversion at this intersection.
What if he's moving the safe as a diversion?
转移
Diversity. Diversity.
Diversity means the times are changing.
Do you think such diversity will cripple the board?
He invited me to this diversity dinner.
If every single living thing is different from every other living thing, then diversity becomes life's one irreducible fact.
What in the hell's diversity?
差异
Divert.
Divert.
Call land area, see what kind of float cutters we have in the area, divert them over to the area.
Divert power to chest RT.
Naturally, when you divert water, there's a little runoff.
They diverted when you turn down the steps, so I imagine they'll be waiting ahead for you.
We'll have to divert.
转移
Divide.
Divide.
And to divide yourself between doing what it is that you have to do and then doing what you love, it's so important to prioritize.
Divide that by 9, please.
I spent a lot of time trying to divide us.
So, I want you to divide in half, and I want half of you to go over here.
Trust me, divide and conquer.
分开分配